Why I Want Season 5 continues with Episode 16. It's been 3 straight episodes of defensemen being covered for the 2022 NHL Draft, so let's keep that trend going and make it a 4th straight. From Denton Mateychuk to Elias Pettersson, from Elias Pettersson to David Jiricek, today's Why I Want episode is going over a player whose name you're probably quite familiar with because his older brother is tearing things up with the Blues in the 2022 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Let's talk today about Jordan Kyrou's younger brother by 5 years, Christian Kyrou, who is indeed a right-handed defenseman playing out of the Erie Otters. So, today's Why I Want is going over probably one of the more interesting comeback, revival, let's say bounce-back stories of the year pretty much, and it comes off of the tape of Christian Kyrou himself. Now, who is Christian Kyrou? Well, he is the younger brother of Jordan Kyrou, as we have noted. Kyrou, by the way, Jordan, in the NHL, absolute monster. He had a crazy year, 75 points in 74 games played, and absolutely lighting the lamp against the Colorado Avalanche in these playoffs right here. But his younger brother Christian is our target today. He is a 5'11", 183-pound right-handed defenseman who was born on September 16th, 2003. Now, you might be looking at that birth date and saying, wait a minute, doesn't that make him one of the older players in the draft? And yeah, you would be absolutely right in saying that. Had Christian Kyrou been born one day earlier, he would have been eligible for the 2021 draft. Instead, because he was born on the 16th and not the 15th, his first year of draft eligibility was indeed this season. And it was probably for the better that things were like this, because when Christian Kyrou was drafted into the OHL, he made his debut with the team in 2019-20, where he had 0 points in 21 games played. The year after was the pandemic year, so the OHL did not actually play. 0 points, 0 games played. Not a great start to Kyrou and his OHL tenure, but this year in 2021-2022, his draft year in eligibility for the NHL, he had himself an absolute game-changing role for the Erie Otters. He had 60 points in 68 games played. The Otters were not a great team this season. They were last in their division, and they were 4th last in the entire OHL. But for all intents and purposes, Christian Kyrou really came into his own as the number 1 quarterback for the Erie Otters this season. He was 3rd on the team in points, and his production actually ranked pretty well amongst other OHL defenders. His 18 goals were 3rd in the entire league for D-men. His marker of 60 points ranked him 4th amongst all OHL defenders, and he led the entire league in shorthanded points with 5. Even though Kyrou had been in the Erie Otters system since 2019, this season in 2021-2022, where he scored his first ever OHL point, was a very, very good bounce-back story to see. Now, the reason he was even able to get these points, not surprising when you watch the tape. This is a player that plays a very high-octane offensive game, and his offense has a lot of potential into projecting to the next level. He's got a solid offensive toolkit which includes puck skills and an ability to always find a way to get his shot through. He can really rip a puck as well if given the opportunity, which he usually forces on his own hand, or should I say, on his own 2 feet. He's got incredible decision-making in the offensive zone, while also remaining a very aggressive and offensive-leaning defenseman when he doesn't have the puck too. He'll often find himself leading into the rush and chasing open space in the offensive zone, making him a passing option for anybody else who has the puck. This guy just really loves to get involved in creating points, and it's been a pretty good treat for scouts who have wanted to see more out of Kyrou ever since seeing him initially with Erie in 2019-20. Let's go over to the rankings first and foremost before we talk about the negatives to his game, because for Christian Kyrou and where he was ranked, he started out this season 179th on the North American skaters list because there just really wasn't a sample size to go out there and project. He had 0 games last year and he had 0 points the year before that, so seeing him climb the ranks up to a position where now he is ranked 37th by Elite Prospects, 78th by Future Considerations, 36th by TSN and Craig Button, and he is the 48th NHL Central Scouting North American skater. It's a very good story to see this guy come out here and overtake 130 other North American players with his play in Erie this season. Now, there are some negatives to his game that I think we definitely have to talk about as well. Where he is a very effective and very projectable offensive player, his defense and skating definitely hold him back from being a potential number 1 quarterback option in the NHL long term. He doesn't have the best foot speed nor defensive game, which are both fairly limited. He gets beat on the boards quite often, and his aggression will often lead to odd man rushes against because sometimes when he pinches a little bit too far into the offensive zone, it gets turned over and it just puts him in a bad position in general. Either way, though, when he has an opportunity to get involved defensively, he usually has good anticipation skills, and he reads the play well enough in the defensive zone too. This is just a guy that you want to see more out of defensively when trying to project his long-term effectiveness at the NHL. You also would like to see him improve his foot speed, which is a pretty interesting thing to note that he needs to work on, because Jordan Kyrou, I'm going back to the older brother here, as we said, Jordan Kyrou's having a crazy good year with the St. Louis Blues. You gotta remember what Kyrou also did at the All-Star Skills competition. This guy won the fastest skater competition above Connor McDavid. I forgot what the actual number was, but his run was the best run so far. He beat Adrian Kempe, who was the current leader, and then Connor McDavid went after, and McDavid could not beat Kyrou. So the fact that Jordan is one of, if not the current title holder for fastest skater in the entire gosh darn NHL, yet his younger brother Christian quite frequently gets beat on defensive rushes, and he doesn't exhibit the best foot speed north-south even when he does have the puck. It is a pretty interesting dichotomy to acknowledge, so maybe he's just got to sign up for some skating lessons with his older brother or whatever to really nail those skating mechanics and improve that stride. They also are roughly around the same size. Christian, as we said, 5'11", 183 as a right-handed defenseman. Jordan, 6 feet, 174 as a right-handed forward. So maybe there could be some sort of translatable exercises that could be done to improve Christian and his overall foot speed. But then again, the guy is only 18 years old, right? So it's not like he's never going to get faster or whatever. But when it comes to where Kyrou will ultimately end up in this year's draft, I mean, the rankings kind of see him as a second, third round-ish guy. He could go a lot later, though, depending on what NHL scouts see in his game away from the offensive zone and off the puck. It's those defensive deficiencies as well as the skating improvements that could hold him back. However, when it really comes down to what you're drafting Christian Kyrou to be, you're drafting this guy because you see a right-handed, offensively gifted defenseman that really just knows how to make things work in the offensive zone. That's ultimately what you're getting out of this player, and it's not really something that I think you could have predicted heading into this season. As we noted, if he was born just a day earlier, he would have been drafted already in the 2021 draft. Actually, he might not have even been drafted because he didn't have any points in the OHL season he had played beforehand. He split the first season he had in the OHL, actually, with the Komaka Kings of the GOJHL, or the GOJHL. I think that's Junior B, if I'm not mistaken. So this has been an absolutely crazy redemption tour from a late OHL draft pick in Junior B hockey to playing in the OHL and getting 0 points, to missing out on a full year, to playing once more in the Erie Otters system, getting a mercy draft year pretty much because of his age, and being as good as he has been in this selection. It really bodes well for saying that this guy is going to be drafted in a much higher position than he would have been had he been eligible for last year's selection. While sure, there are some concerns that separate him in a very big way compared to his brother Jordan, Christian Kyrou is still a player that I do think is worth looking at and paying attention to if you're looking for any right-side defenders that could be just very good offensive power play quarterbacks. So, talk to me in the comments, what do you think about Christian Kyrou? If your team is drafting this player, where would you want to see him go? I don't really think he is a first-round player, mostly due to the deficiencies in his defensive play and his foot speed, but if you're just looking for offense only, then this guy could be your bet. And if you're a St. Louis Blues fan looking for some potential steals that might be available later on, then I mean, look no further than Jordan Kyrou's younger brother. Jordan was already a very good pickup where he was, and he became amazing. So, who knows? Maybe take a swing on the brother to really assimilate him into the St. Louis Blues culture. But of course, nepotism is not really the most guaranteed solution to making things work, now isn't it? Just talk about Colton Dach and Shane Doan's son and Cale Makar's brother as well, all getting drafted by the teams that were associating with their older family members. But either way, talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about Christian Kyrou. Where do you see this guy going in the draft? If you're a fan of the Erie Otters, what are your thoughts on this player and how he played this season for your team? I hope you enjoyed this British 99, and bye.